Pokemon 76. Just when you think things can't get worse with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, they do. And I'm not just talking about the hilarity behind the bugs and technical issues that we have seen plenty of clips of spread throughout the internet, which is what's led to the lower than usual Metascore and user score. And for those who do want a compilation of bugs, glitches, technical issues, and performance issues that I've covered, go to these two videos where you'll find in the sources links to all those clips that people have shared all across social media, on Twitter, you name it. Beyond all those disruptive bugs, we are also seeing now gameplay issues that straight up break certain modes like PvP. This was first noticed by the following Reddit user, Lord Trolldemort, when they posted something funny's going on with accuracy checks in Scarlet and Violet. People began to notice that certain moves that have a certain percentage chance of hitting were either not hitting every single time in certain conditions or were hitting every single time in certain conditions. I noticed that Frost Breath, for example, a 90% accuracy move, was missing a lot, so I started recording the results of every battle. A few battles into gathering data, I noticed that Frost Breath would always miss if it was the first accuracy check of the match. I've played 14 battles where Frost Breath was the first accuracy check since I started recording, and Frost Breath has missed all 14 times. In terms of probability, that is nigh near impossible. For those doing the math, that would be a 1 in 100 trillion chance if the RNG were working correctly. I have no idea why this is happening. My best guess is that the RNG is being seeded with the same number every battle, and the same seed being used for every battle seems to be the running theory right now. The thing that people are speculating is what's happening, and this seems to be specifically confined to the Battle Stadium mode. This is a mode where players can battle online for fun or engage in ranked matches. After this Reddit post was published, word began to spread, and on Twitter user Anubis eventually confirmed that they were experiencing something similar. Pokemon Scarlet/Violet Battle Stadium currently is using the same RNG seed for every battle. What that means is that this allows us to choose moves to ensure that one-hit KO moves, such as Sheer Cold, always hit. If you know the conditions under which the same seed that's being utilized will allow for a one-hit KO move to hit, then one-hit KO moves that are supposed to be about high risk, high reward are no longer risky. It's just high reward because you know exactly when they'll hit, on which turn and under which conditions. You can see an example of this in this video where the player consistently is hitting the opponent with Sheer Cold, this one-hit KO move, by fulfilling certain conditions. In this case, using Air Slash and then following up with Sheer Cold seems to yield a situation where Sheer Cold will always hit. Boom, right there. One hit KO, and then here's a second clip where something similar happens, beginning with Air Slash, followed by Sheer Cold, and boom, it hits yet again. Skipping ahead, you can see a different yet similar situation where Sheer Cold comes as the second move that this player uses. The first move gets essentially blocked by Fake Out, flinching this Pokemon, but Sheer Cold comes right after, and it hits just like that. And this 2-minute video essentially goes through multiple examples of this where moves like Sheer Cold are incredibly overpowered because players are able to gauge exactly when they'll end up hitting. Anubis further detailed the conditions under which they were able to consistently hit with Sheer Cold. Multiple setups will work. An easy one is Fake Out plus Sheer Cold as long as the opponent does not move before you. The fixed RNG seed is why moves with under 91% accuracy always miss on the first turn, as was first noticed here, referring to the Reddit post that I recently showed you. Anubis also pointed out that this fixed seed issue only seems to apply to Battle Stadium based on their experience. I will add that I haven't noticed this issue with Wild Battles and Tera Raids online/offline, which do have proper random seeding. Others have reported Link battles are fine. So far, it's only been demonstrated for Battle Stadium. But Battle Stadium is a pretty important mode in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. It's the main way through which players will engage in PvP battles, casual and ranked. So long as this bug exists, those battles are rendered completely moot, completely pointless, are completely broken. Ranked battles in particular will be made completely untenable by the fact that the high-risk, high-reward moves are going to be completely broken and overpowered because players will be able to predict when they'll hit, and it just makes for a competitive scene that is just in complete shambles until this is fixed. And it wasn't long before prominent content creators and streamers began noticing this and reporting on this. Here is TikTok user HopCatSmash, who essentially detailed in a minute-long video exactly what's going on here.
This new glitch is probably the worst bug in competitive Pokemon history, and it completely ruins PvP battles. Here's why. Anubis on Twitter discovered that in the Battle Stadium where you do the PvP battles, the game always uses the same RNG seed. This means that the random effects are not random at all, and they're actually completely predictable. And if you know when things are going to miss, you're going to work out when things are going to hit. If you use Fake Out and then straight away use Sheer Cold, a move that only has usually a 30% chance to hit, and always one-shots your opponent, it's guaranteed to hit. Not making a new RNG seed is like if you played cards but you just use the same deck with never shuffling it. You just know what's coming next. It's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. This basically makes PvP unplayable until I fix that.
The playing cards analogy is a pretty good one. Imagine a situation where every single poker match has the exact same deck with cards ordered in exactly the same way. Imagine if they only shuffled it once and then that becomes the seed and then that exact sequence of cards was used every single time instead of shuffling with every single match. Eventually you'd be able to memorize in exactly which order the cards will come and you'd be able to essentially rig the game. With the randomization and probability element no longer really in play, players would essentially have to outrig each other. It'd be about outplaying players based on knowing exactly what order these cards will appear. It makes for a completely broken player versus player battle system that has caused headlines like this to crop up all over. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's online RNG move accuracy is rigged. Players claim the game's random calculations are the same every time it's claimed. Now, I wish I could say that was the only broken aspect of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's multiplayer gameplay, but even cooperative gameplay elements like Tera Raids are completely busted. Tera Raids are essentially endgame content that you can partake in with other players, but unfortunately, it is completely marred by poor matchmaking, lag, long animations, unforgiving timers, bugs, and ill-equipped players who are actively ruining the experience. Scrolling down, IGN here explains how Tera Raids work. Players can find sparkling Tera crystals scattered around the world of Paldea that, when interacted with, offer the opportunity to battle a powerful, Tera-stylized Pokemon. These Pokemon are usually significantly more powerful than regular wild Pokemon and often have a Tera type. For instance, a Gyarados, normally a flying water type, might have a Dragon Tera type. And these raids have star ratings based on their difficulty. Once you reach 5 stars, things get tricky. In order to fight most 5-star and higher raids effectively, you need a team of real people playing with optimized monsters. This is where the problems set in. For lower level raids, you can get away with essentially compiling a team of yourself and NPCs that don't have to deal with the connection issues and the lag issues and all of the multiplayer bugs. But once you reach a certain level, once you get to 5-star and above, you essentially need to partner up with other players. NPCs aren't smart enough to be able to overcome the difficulty of these higher difficulty raids. But unfortunately, technical and design issues get in the way of allowing players to join up and to be able to coordinate properly and be able to overcome these more difficult raids. One of the main issues is that it's extremely difficult to get a spot in 5 or 6-star raids, and what's worse is that the game will sit there connecting for up to a minute once a raid has been selected before it tells a player whether or not they even made it in. And if they didn't, which there's a good chance of, they're sent back to the same menu of 8 Tera Raids, only now most of the ones available have likely filled up as well. Oh yeah, another thing to note is that only 8 possible Tera Raids will populate on the menu at once instead of an extensive list that you can choose from, and the refresh button to essentially look for new raids that you want to partake in only becomes available every few minutes. So partaking in raids with other players becomes an insufferable exercise in waiting and waiting and waiting. Once you're actually in a Tera Raid, the problems expound. All players take turns at the same time. The downside of this, however, is that Scarlet and Violet's major issues with online lag and bugs, as well as some odd design decisions, have turned this feature into a nightmare. Because the timer for how long you have to select a move is always ticking down, if the game lags, players may only have a second to choose a move or no time at all. Connection issues and technical issues with multiplayer also means that vital information won't be portrayed accurately. HP bars don't always accurately reflect what a Pokemon health is at a given moment, so it's hard to gauge when to use healing items. And making the timer issue worse is that animations that occur when you perform certain moves, when you terrestrialize your own Pokemon, All of that stuff results in a lengthy animation through which the timer continues to tick down. And a similar time delay occurs when using moves, held items, or abilities that result in a lot of text or animations on screen. And the end result of this combination of technical issues and design issues is that raids are utter chaos, moves go off at seemingly random times, turns are skipped, health bars are all over the place, and it's often impossible to tell what's going on at a given moment. This is a mode that after a certain difficulty point, you need other players and need to be able to coordinate with them, but all of these issues make coordination an impossibility, and it makes it impossible to even know what's going on in the game itself because everything's just going haywire. Combine that with the fact that difficult 5-star raids are easily accessible, and you also find plenty of inexperienced players who, even if you could coordinate with, you'd still not be able to really overcome the challenges that are presented. So not only does Tera Raids do a poor job of getting off players who are not ready to tackle the more difficult challenges, all of that is compounded by the lag issues and all of the elements that make Tera Raids a miserable experience for many. And it's a damn shame because I think if the mode worked properly, it'd be a pretty fun way to play this game with other players, but in its current state, Tera Raids are also completely broken and untenable, much like the Battle Stadium mode. Players are hoping that Nintendo can fix this on time because there are upcoming events that involve players working together in Tera Raids, like a 7-star Charizard event, a Pokemon not otherwise available in Scarlet and Violet, will be showing up in Tera Raids. And with coordination being almost impossible due to how messy the online system is, people are wondering if these issues will be able to be fixed in time for that event. That will be even more difficult than the 5-star stuff, and that will require even more coordination. This stuff absolutely has to be fixed, or the event has to be delayed until these issues can be rectified. So yeah, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet isn't just afflicted by hilarious visual bugs and glitches, it's also got disruptive performance issues, and it's got plenty of problems with its online infrastructure with elements of design. They essentially disable entire modes, and it further highlights just how half-baked Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are. It really highlights how desperately this game needed additional development time. 6 months to a year, who knows how much more. We'll see how long it takes for Game Freak to fix all of these problems, but so far the foundation of this new entry is looking rocky enough that it doesn't feel like just a simple fix. It feels like it might take a couple weeks, if not months, for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to be patched enough that it will finally feel like it meets the quality bar that it should have met at launch. But that's just one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on reports surrounding what are essentially broken modes and features, and let me know what your experience has been like playing Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.